happily ever after with heartaches, or you can live happily ever after with heartaches. Have you ever read the storybooks? Oh, like Cinderella or Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, just little old children's stories. And you know how they always live happily ever after. Oh, what a wonderful end of the story. Did you know that could be your end too? In fact, your today, your beginning and your ending. I love the stories. And the wonderful prince came to her rescue. And they went off in this wonderful golden carriage. And they two together lived happily ever after. I want that for my life. I really do. And I want it for your lives. I care about you. I wouldn't be spending my time making these tapes unless I wanted to share something from my own heart. And maybe something not necessarily I have learned myself, but I've learned through others. I learned from people, watching people, observing people, 20 years being here at the First Baptist Church, 9 years being here at Hiles-Anderson College, and watching the people who have gone through the trials and the heartaches, and watching them live, and not die, live. And watching how the Lord takes their lives and molds and chisels on them and makes them into a beautiful person living happily ever after. I want that so much when I'm going through the trials, and I'm sure you do too. Everyone here listening will face trials. You will. You're going to face heartaches. What do you mean heartaches? Oh, how about just sickness? To me, that is a heartache. A child being ill. Last Friday night, Friday in the afternoon time, my little boy, who's 20 months old, had an asthma attack. He hasn't any problems with the breathing area since, I guess, last February. Not a problem at all, not a cold, nothing. And all of a sudden, he started having a little bit of a sniffly nose and then a little bit of a wheezing, whistling sound. And the next morning, he woke up. This is Thursday night. And Friday morning, he woke up. And that little guy was having a time. He honestly could not. He was gasping for air. And I think he panicked as he couldn't get the air, and he got scared. And his little lips turned blue, and I thought I was going to lose him. And that was a heartache to me, to watch my little child suffer. I don't like to be sick, but there's no way to compare with when I feel sick and watch my children when they're sick. You know what I'm saying. It's a heartache. It's a heartache to watch somebody that you love, somebody you've invested in, to go astray, to leave the church, to stop coming to Sunday school. That's a heartache. You say, well, how can you live with these things? You just want to give up. No, I'm not going to give up. Somebody's invested in me. The Lord gave his son for me, Jesus Christ. He died on the cross for me. He gave his life for me. He gave me his life. He gave me a book to read that I can pattern my life after. And I'm going to have heartaches and live as if I'm broken, one big ache. And by the way, causing other people to ache because of the way I'll live. I don't want that for my life, and I don't believe you do either. I made a tape the other day. Let's see, I think I'm cracking up. Nothing like this tape. Maybe a few things that I'll mention may have a similarity, but that's on more or less depression, our attitudes, and how you think you're going to have a nervous breakdown tomorrow. But I'm talking today about just living with everyday happenings, everyday heartaches. Heartaches that may have faced you since the time you were married. Maybe you're having marriage problems. Maybe you're in a divorce situation. Maybe you've lost a child, living or death. Maybe you've just lost a parent. These are heartaches. But you know what? With the Lord, our hearts don't have to break. They don't have to ache. I love the verse that Mrs. Marlene Evans uses in class. In finishing up our classes, I have a real privilege. I get to be an assistant teacher to her. I've worked 9 years for her, starting the beginning of my 10th year this winter. And I started thinking about what a privilege I have to sit underneath her teaching, to hear her Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, about 10 hours of teaching, and to learn from her. But you know what's more of a blessing? That lady has gone through some hard times, but she lives what she teaches. Isn't that something? You know, you can walk all you want and talk all you want, but boy, it's something more to walk what you talk, and she does. There's a saying Dr. Evans has used, your walk walks and your talk talks, but your walk talks louder than your talk talks. I want to live it, not just see it and teach it, but live it. How about you? You will have heartaches. I thought of Mrs. Evans having a mastectomy and then having a second one just a few weeks ago. Or a week ago. I can't imagine. But yet, that woman I talked to Dr. Evans, her husband, said that even the night before was full of joy. And you know why she's full of joy? Because of what I just started to say. We finish her classes, because of working with her as an assistant teacher at Hiles Anderson College, we finish her classes by saying Philippians 4:4, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. Not just saying it once, rejoice in the Lord always, but again I say, rejoice. Now, Mrs. Holbrook, her Sunday school teacher, says it with a lot more zest and excitement than I can ever do. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. The way she says it, I can't do it. But it always sounds so special and so exciting. But that's the truth. With the Lord Jesus Christ, we don't have to give up. In fact, I thought to myself, can you imagine the disappointment I'd be to my Lord for me to give up? And all that he's put into me, that Lord of mine loves me just like I am. But he has a plan for me to become a better person, just as you have a plan for your children to be a better person. And you're a bit disappointed, but you don't give up on them. Last night, our little boy Jason was on the way. We were on our way home from church. And last Sunday, he had an award that was placed on him in the 3-year-old nursery. It was called the Best Boy. They had, a little story. A Noah's Ark, so a little bitty ark, and on his little ark it had Best Boy. Oh, we were so proud of him. We asked him, how did he receive this award? And he said he was the best boy. He obeyed. He sat Indian style. He didn't move. He didn't talk. Well, I guess we overbragged on him or something. But last night, I could see a little glimmer in his eye. It wasn't the same glimmer. It was a downer look. And I picked him up from the nursery, and I loved him. And he loved me special. He just kind of clung to me. The nursery worker didn't say anything to me. I thanked her for caring for Jason, and Jason thanked her as they gave him a cookie. And he walked out of there, but he just seemed to cling to me more last night, a little bit more quiet than normal. And as we were getting ready to go out to the car, that little 3-year-old boy walked behind the car and stood and says, Mama, I need to tell you something. Can you imagine? To be so honest was so precious. He says, Mama, I had to stand in the corner tonight. I said, you did? It was a little bit of a heartache there. I said, what happened, son? He said, I didn't sit still. And when they asked me to sit still, I did it again. And I said, you disobeyed? He said, yes, ma'am. And I said, oh, Jason. He said, Mama, you still like me? I said, honey, I'll always love you. I like you. I love you. I said, I don't stop loving you. I said, when you do something wrong, it's disappointing to Mommy, but I'll always love you. You don't stop loving. It's not an unconditional. It is an unconditional love. It's not conditional. I don't love you and you're good and hate you and you're bad. I'll always love you. You're my son. And I think about the Lord as the same way. He loves us no matter what, but I sure like to please him, don't you? There's something about doing right and watching your mother's face. Can you remember as a small child to do something good and she had a big old smile on her face? And my mom smiles with her eyes. Her eyes even light up. And I hope mine do too, but her whole face just seemed to light up when she was proud of me. And I like that. I didn't like to do things wrong. There was a different look in her eyes and a different look or frown on her face. It wasn't fun. And I thought to myself, when we do the things we do, I just imagine how the Lord must feel and what he must think and how his heart must become very heavy. And that would be almost like a heartache. But I thought to myself, this is great. I have a Lord that loves me. He cares about me. He cares about me no matter what. And he's got some strength and some power that's going to encourage me and help me, and a book that's going to challenge me and help me to live. And I'm just hoping to share some things with you today that might challenge you and might encourage you and might strengthen you. Yes, you will have heartaches. I'll have heartaches. Sometimes several heartaches a day. Do you ever have that happen to you? Many things can go wrong. You know what? I think that's a testing often. It speaks of it in James, different books in the Bible. It speaks of the testings and the trials that will come to our way. But the Lord never gives us a trial or a temptation, which is a temptation, that we can't bear. In other words, he gives us a way to escape. He always gives us a way to escape. In other words, sometimes when the hard times are coming, you think, I can't take any more. No, remember, the Lord's there. He sees his trial. He sees his temptation. In fact, he chose it just for you. But there is a way to escape. That's exciting. In fact, in James chapter 1, verse 2, it says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." He just goes on and speaks of it many, many times. Excuse me. He speaks of different times in the book of James of the trials and the testings and the temptations, and that excites me. That just excites me to death. In other words, I believe, sure, sometimes they could be for chastisement. He's chastening me. But I think more than that, often we think the Lord's he's going to get you. Boy, he's going to get you. No. He is trying to build you. He's trying to mold you. I heard this illustration before. I know I've used it. But a diamond, to me, is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful jewel. It really is. It's a beautiful jewel, a gem. But you know when they say when the diamonds are cut, actually out of the mines or whatever, they're cut out of the mountains, and even in Africa, they say they're a very ugly and a dirty and a gray, black, ugly-looking stone. But they say they have to do so much work on these things, so much rubbing and chiseling and rubbing and pushing. But you know what? That's the same thing. Isn't that exciting? That's the same thing with us. He's chiseling, he's rubbing, he's working on us. And rejoice when he chose you. I believe he's trying to make something of you and of me when he's working on us. Don't think, oh, here it comes. No, I don't necessarily sit and say, okay, Lord, send me a trial today. I mean, Lord, I want the worst trials you can possibly send my way. I mean, I want to be miserable today. No, you're miserable because you chose to be miserable. But I don't think you are miserable. I think the Lord just chose you. In James 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the man that endureth temptation or trials. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him." Isn't that something? There are many, 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 many verses on this. Let me just share one little part of Preacher's poem. And you've heard it, I'm sure. You've read it before. But the poem is Don't Quit. I love this. I love this. It's a poem Brother Hiles wrote. And let me just read just a portion of it. "When the cup is turned to wormwood, and the wormwood turns to gall, when your walking turns to stumbling, and the stumbling to a fall, when you've climbed above the mountains, yet the Alps rise rough and tall, don't quit. When the path ahead is crooked, when the road's too rough to tread, when the best upon the table is replaced by sorrow's bread, when you've crossed some troubled waters, yet a Mara's just ahead, don't quit. When the vultures have descended and disturbed your downy nest, when sweet fruit has changed to thistle, while the thorns disturb your rest, when a deep to deep is calling, and when your failure seems your best, don't quit." I'm skipping just a bit here. "When your health is feeling sickly, and the medicine tastes bad, when your fellowship is lonely and your happiness is sad, when your warmth is getting colder, and in clouds your sunshine's clad, don't quit. When you find your wins are losses, and that all your gains are lacks, when ill things never come alone, and your troubles run in packs, when your soul is bruised and battered from the tempter's fierce attacks, don't quit. Remember this: be not weary in well-doing, for a due season brings the grain. He who on the Lord hath waited shall never run in vain. Remember this: the just man falleth 7 times, yet riseth up again. Don't quit. Don't quit. I can't give up. I can't give up. I won't give up. I'm not going to give up. How about you? Encourage each other. Encourage yourself. People need to be encouraged too. Do you know that? People need to be encouraged. So if you feel down, go pull somebody else up and you'll be pulled up too, really. There's a verse, 2 Corinthians 7:4, a portion of it. "I am filled with comfort. I am exceedingly joyful in all our tribulation." You can always have joy if you want it. In other words, you can live happily ever after through the heartaches. You can have a joy in your heart and a lift in your life through this. Another verse is 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 16 through 18, just pulling out a portion of it, just 2 little words: rejoice evermore. To me, it's just rejoice forever and forever and forever. It goes on, pray without ceasing, goes on. Tremendous. But rejoice evermore. Everyone will have heartaches. You say, I haven't had any. Maybe you're young. I don't sit around waiting for them or looking for them, but they'll come. They're there. Some of them will follow you throughout life. Some will be with you your entire life. I don't know what the Lord's chosen for you, but remember, He's chosen it for you. I was born, you assume that. I know you figured that out. If you saw me, maybe you don't think I was born, but I was born back almost, it's hard to believe, 38 years ago now. But I was born and had a very healthy life until my last year of high school. I went fine through high school, but the year I graduated, this summer, I developed a kidney infection. It wasn't until about, maybe 6 years later, they found out I have a very, very rare kidney disease. You know, I can sit around and dwell on this. I have it in both kidneys. It's an incurable type disease. And I honestly, in the beginning, didn't quite know how to deal with it. I just didn't know how to deal with it. I was feeling sorry for myself. I'm very serious when I say I take my temperature about every hour. I became really like a hypochondriac. When they said a disease, I associate it with death. I wondered how many minutes I had left. It was just a matter of time, a minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I wonder how much longer I have, Lord, a year. Oh, it was almost hilarious when I think about it now. That was almost now 14 years ago. They told me it was incurable. They sent me to Mayo Clinic. They said there was nothing more they can do for me. Can you imagine? I had just had a new baby. They found out I was born with this, but it doesn't usually come. If it is discovered early in life, it's usually fatal. But later in life, if it becomes known, it's something they can work with. And of course, I guess you could die with it. But it's an easier or a less killer, if you can put it that way. In other words, probably the best of the kidney diseases. It's called medullary sponge kidneys. Usually it's in one kidney, but I was blessed I have it in both. You know, I don't get anything just once. I get it as best as you can, so I have it in both. But, you know, I really thought that it was a fatal type thing. It's associated with bleeding in the kidneys, and when you see that, of course, you think you're about to die, you're losing all your blood. And I had some adjustments to make, as you will with your heartaches too. There are adjustments to be made. Realize you're going to take them one step at a time. Little bitty baby steps in accepting some things. I thought today I'd go through many different things, but then I'm going to center in on one concerning my little son's life. He has a chronic illness. It'll be with him to the day he dies. It's called hypothyroidism and also a ligament disease. He was born with it and cretinism. They told us he would never live to his 12th birthday. But praise the Lord, that little boy is going to be 16 years old just in a few weeks. Those of you who've been to a spectacular have seen him. He was the one that came in and rode his bicycle. They told us to never ride a bike. They told us it would be a miracle, for him to live, much less ride a bicycle because of the ligament problem he has. Well, right now we're having, he has passed the 12-year period. I'm kind of going through things quickly. They told us he'd be retarded. He has some problems with the motor system that did affect the brain, but intelligence-wise, he's a little bit slower as far as grasping things, but not mentally as far as understanding, just more or less projecting it. He's doing well. He really is. We're just rejoicing in little Roy and how he's doing. He's just a miracle of God to us, a real miracle. And the hospital said they call him a miracle baby, because of his life and how he has made so many changes from his features at birth, with having cretinism, with his dwarfism, how he's grown now to about 5'3", I guess, and they thought he'd never be over 2-3 foot high, and just so many things to rejoice in. And that's the secret, too. It's not just to dwell on what he isn't, but what he is. And I believe he'll be more because of what we say he is. Although I believe we've had to go down, we're now going up. And we've gone backward, but we're going forward. And we'll go backward again, but we'll just continue going back forward. And it's been such a blessing to watch his little life. But let me go through some things that were going through my mind before I get in little Roy, and maybe it'd be a help to you. I have a kidney disease. I could have lived with heartaches on this, and I've had heartaches with it. But, I've had my adjustment period, time to understand it. And when the devil seems to want to throw a dart, he can throw up this pathway, and I have to pick myself up and go again. But I believe it says, a just man falleth 7 times, but riseth up again. Isn't that something? Maybe 30, 40, 50 times I'm going to have to get back up, but I just plan to get back up. How about you? Are you down today? Stand up. Stand up. In fact, stand up so fast you don't even know you've been knocked down. That's a real secret. Anyway, this kidney disease, as I mentioned to you before I go through some other points, they were real concerned about it. I had some good care. I had some fun when I was at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. They set me up there for further test and more or less a second opinion. And I had some fun. I think I've told before I was on an elevator, being the elevator operator that they don't have. And I met the doctor that way and didn't know it till later when I saw him. And I knew I'd seen him somewhere. I just didn't know where I could place that man. And he says, yes, I know who you are. You're the lady who was our elevator operator that we don't have. And we laughed. I had some fun out of it instead of walking around with the gloom disease and glooming everybody around me and putting gloom powder all over the room. I didn't want that. Sure, I had some heaviness. It's not like I'm saying I didn't, but I had to go through my time of adjustment, my realization of what was happening to me, and pick up my pieces and turn around and go with what I had to go on. And I planned to go on much. So there I am at the clinic. They got me all situated. I had a time where they ran all the tests and the kidney x-rays and all the IVPs, they call them, and the intravenous polygrams, I think they're called, and all the creatinine clearance to find out my kidney function. And they dismissed me, more or less just re-diagnosing that, yes, not re-diagnosing, but more or less saying, yes, that's right, you had a good doctor, he diagnosed it exactly, and gave me some Nutrifos, K-Phos medicine to try and help dissolve the stones. Came home, took the stuff, got deathly sick, horrible intestinal problems, and couldn't take it. And they took me off of it, and I just was drinking a lot of liquid. I called the doctor, by the way. I'm making a long story short, but that is almost 14 years ago. I called the doctor just a few months ago to help a friend get in, several months ago. And you may have heard me tell this story, but I love to hear it. And again, these stories are the ones you want to relive. Relive the good things. Sure, the times when I've been hard, but going through may seem harder. The things you always remember are the hard times. You don't remember the great high hours in your life. They all pass away, but you sure remember because you learned so much from the hard to the tough times. But I'll never forget how I called that doctor a few months ago, and I said, hello, Dr. Wagner, this is JoJo Moffitt. And I said, you probably don't remember me. It's been, good night, 14 years. And he says, oh, yes, I do. And I thought, oh, no, he remembers me. And I didn't know if it was good or bad. And I'm teasing. I didn't do anything I don't believe bad. I just had some fun and some light times and on purpose. Not goony times, but just some light times and I hope cheery times. And he says, I remember you have medullary sponge kidneys. How are you doing? How are your kidneys, JoJo? And I said, trying to be proper, and my mother always taught me to, acknowledge this person, ask how they're doing. So he said, how are your kidneys? I said, fine, thank you. How are your kidneys? He laughed, and I guess, again, we kind of just remembered some of the fun times and laugh times and the light times, making light of the heavy. And he said, really, how are they doing? You're still bleeding. Because of the kidney condition I have, you'll have bleeding sometimes once a day, could be several times a day, maybe once a week. But you will have the bleeding because of the crystallization, the calcium deposits, the stones throughout my kidneys that cause aggravation and bleed on the inner part of my kidneys. So I said, oh my, I said, yes, I have had bleeding. And he said, oh my, how are you doing? Is it bad? Is it lots? How often do you have the bleeding? And I said, oh my, let's say. And I really had to think, because I didn't dwell on it much like I did in the beginning, the adjustment time when I took my temperature all the time. You say, why'd you take your temperature? I don't know. I just knew every time you go to the doctor, they took your temperature. So I guess if you're going to die, maybe the temperature would change. That'd be my leading. I don't know. But anyway, I just went through it and told him how, yes, I had bleeding, and I had to think. And I said, yes, once. And he said, oh, that's not bad, once a day, JoJo. And I said, no, sir, once. He said, once a day, once a week? What do you mean? I said, no, sir, once. He says, once a month? What do you mean? I said, no, sir, once. He said, you have medullary sponge kidneys. It aggravates the kidneys. There's bleeding associated with it, and you've had bleeding once? Once. I said, yes, sir, once. In fact, it was back about 1971, New Year's Day. We were at a New Year's Eve get-together with a church. My husband was preaching there, and they were having a thing where they were hopping on balloons and trying to break balloons as a fun time before the preaching time, and just kind of a New Year's fun time, and after the meal, and then we had the preaching time. And I got involved, and here I had been bleeding from the kidneys after being checked at Mayo. I think I went there it seemed like in November, December, around there, and I went to this party. And, I started thinking, you know what? I am pampering myself stupid. Now, I don't believe in being crazy and not watching yourself, not caring for yourself properly, but, I was really having the pity parties. I was having them all the time and just feeling sorry for myself and wondering how much longer I'd live and wondering what my husband's new wife would look like and what size clothes she'd wear, and if she'd wear I'm being funny. But, I was a mess. So I decided I was going to get in that balloon hop. Now, I don't necessarily believe that after hemorrhaging you should be jumping on balloons, but I'll tell you, I couldn't hardly think about anything else anymore. I thought, this is ridiculous. I went and got in that balloon hop and started jumping, and I won. I won the balloon hop. You say, well, Ray, yay. I was excited. And you know what? The next morning when I woke up, you said you hemorrhaged and died. No, I didn't die, silly. I wouldn't be here. But the bleeding stopped in the kidneys. And you know what? I've never bled since. That's 1971. What's this? 1984. I guess I can't complain much. I have a lot to be grateful for. And that's just been such a blessing. I shared that with the doctor. And you know what the doctor at Mayo Clinic, Dr. Wagner, I believe he's still there in the nephrology section, a very fine doctor, very nice, very congenial, and a humanitarian type doctor. I just enjoyed being there and felt like I had such good care. And this doctor said to me, and if he was here today, he could vouch for it. He said, "JoJo, what are you doing? Did you take medicine? Are you still in KFOS?" And I says, "No, sir. My kidney doctor, my urologist here, told me that I couldn't take it, Nutrifos or KFOS, because of the aggravation it was to the intestinal area in my stomach." And I said, "So I've just been flushing fluids and water, and I haven't any problems." He says, "Well, do you still have like pus cells in the urine and all?" I said, "Yes, sir. But I mean, it's very minimal, and they don't seem concerned." He said, "Are you on any medicine?" He says, "Nothing." And he was amazed. He said, "What do you attribute this to? What are you doing?" And I thought, praise the Lord. During one of the hardest times, one of the heaviest times, here I am with 3 little children, a little girl not even 5 years old yet, a little boy not even 2 years old, and a newborn baby, and wondering if I'd live or die to raise him. Wonder if I'd see him to grow. And I said, what do I attribute him to? This to? I said, "Dr. Wagner, back in 1970 when my baby was born, and you diagnosed this in 1971 when everything kind of was changing around and having a little bit of a problem with it, I said to the Lord, Lord, maybe I haven't been the mother I should have been, patience and love and kindness. Me, I haven't been the most patient wife or the most serving type wife. I've tried to be, but there's so much more I can do. You know, Lord, I've been teaching a Sunday school class, but I've really been satisfied running 3 and 5 when I should be out visiting running 10 and 20. Oh, I'm a bus worker, but kind of just riding it, not really doing much on a bus route." And I said to the Lord, "Lord, whatever time I have is yours. Maybe you can make some decisions today when you're going through the hard times. I want my life to live for the Lord, not for me. I'm miserable. Selfishness doesn't pay. You're a very, very, very uncaring person and a very bitter person and a very, very unhappy person. I want this joy they speak of. Joy you can have happily ever after in the heartaches." So I just decided to pick up and go. And I said to the doctor, Dr. Wagner, I promised the Lord whatever time I had was his. And you know what that doctor said to me? He said, "You stick with that Lord." Here's a doctor that's not even a Christian, who gives medicine, who diagnoses all these heartaches, could say, "Go to this specialist now," and then go to this specialist. He says, "I think you should just stick with that Lord." And I thought, what a testimony that could be. Either way, when you're having a hard time, people are watching you, by the way. We need some examples, folks. We really do. We need some people who, when they're having a hard time, still have a smile on their face. Sure, there are tears, but I believe the verse says, "They that sow in tears shall reap in joy." Isn't that something? They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. You'll have tears, but oh my, the joy. Remember, Philippians 4:4, rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. What are some of the heartaches you'll have in your life? Oh, what are yours? Sickness, health? What about your church? The preacher leaves? Changes in the staff? New school teachers? New school principal? Heartaches in your children? Sickness? Leaving home, running away from home? Breaking your heart, disobedience? Heartache of your home. Just your entire home, your family. Maybe you're saved and your family is unsaved or are unsaved. There are heartaches in your marriage. But my, the blessings. I'm just praying and just praying with my heart. The things I'm going to say as you listen to this tape might be a comfort and an aid and a help and a challenge. Maybe some guidelines that might help you just a bit. Oh, I'm sure those of you who have gone through it could give many, many more than I can. But I've been asked to do this. Mrs. Evans asked me to make this tape. I thought, oh, it'll be so hard because I'm in it right now, the heartache. But I'm going to share it with you. And I have a joy. And I have a smile that's real. And I believe I'm real. But I believe I'm learning. I believe I'm going to grow. And I believe the young people involved with me, the young man involved with me at this very time, my own son, has been probably the biggest testimony because he has lived in the 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 16 through 18, and he is rejoicing evermore. So I say to you as I say to myself, Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say, rejoice. You can always have joy if you want to. Do you? Do you really want some joy? Then we're going to share some things, go over some things that I believe will help you and me to live happily ever after with the heartaches. You're probably right now, if I've just turned it on the wrong side. This is side 2. But if you're thinking right now, heartaches, oh, will I ever be able to take them? I think about the service. They go through quite a bit of heartaches getting ready for the battle, and that's what we're doing. We're in a battle every day. We really are. We're in a battle. You're in a battle. I'm in a battle. But being a soldier, I want to be ready. I want to be toughened up. And I think I'm just getting toughened up. You heard the verse before in 2 Timothy 4:7. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. I want that to be my goal and my motive to living and in dying. I want to just be able to fight. I want to finish the course. I want to keep the faith. And in 2 Timothy 2:3, therefore, thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. We're in the hardness time right now, the time to make us hard, the time to get us ready, the time to toughen us up, in a sense. And that's what you're doing, and that's what I'm doing. And I want to be tough. How about you? You start thinking, well, what are some of the hard times you were mentioning a minute ago? It could be sickness, I mentioned, health, death, marriage, home, children, school, because everyone is going to feel losses. Every single person. You're going to lose something. You are going to have losses. You go out and sit and read for an hour and you get a suntan. You're going to lose it. You have your hair. You're going to lose it. A new baby gets a beautiful crop of hair. It falls out. That can be, oh, look at the hair. Oh, look at the hair. The blessings come, and then you think the hard times come, but the blessings are still there. Don't ever lose your joy. You're going to have loss of a husband in death, or it might even be divorce. Some people listen to this tape have had that type of a loss, and that is a heartache. Loss of friends. I know when I got saved, our friends changed. My goal, of course, was to get them saved and to have them to believe as I believe and to trust Christ and to be a Christian and be a new creature. Many of these people didn't, and I have a loss of friends, a loss of family. If your family aren't saved, in many instances, you'll lose your family. They won't have anything to do with you, for you, because they don't understand. Watch how you react. Lose a wedding ring, a prized possession. I can remember at my class ring, I treasured my class ring. I had to work for my class ring and babysitting for my brother, and he paid for my ring, and I in turn worked it off. He kept record of every hour and how much he paid me, a quarter an hour or something. Not exactly, almost. But I worked off my class ring, and I remember when I lost my class ring and I never found it. That was a heartache to me. In fact, I didn't lose it. My husband lost it. I remember this still. He wore it on his baby finger. We're high school sweethearts, and we were going steady. And back in the prehistoric days, when you'd wear a little tin ring on your finger. No, we had class rings. And that was a heartbreak to me. I loved that ring. I worked for that ring. But I wasn't deflated or diffused, ruined. I have a beautiful ring on my finger today. I have my beautiful wedding band. I never had a wedding band until I was married many, many years. Of course, I had a wedding band. It was maybe a simple one to you. I loved it. It was my first wedding band. It was my wedding band. But years later, we went overseas on a trip to Israel, and my husband bought me a beautiful wedding band that has 6 diamonds in it. Beautiful, small diamonds, but they're beautiful. But you know what I treasure? Not almost as much as that. On the other hand, I have a little brass ring that I saw as we were on vacation, and they carved, or I don't know how you say carved, but used a metal piece to actually engrave the initials R-O-Y. And I have it on my right hand, and I wear my husband's name on my finger. It says Roy. I treasure this, and I'd hate to lose it, but that ring is just material. I have a love that will never leave, a love for my husband and love he gives to me. I can't lose that. So what's the heartache? Losing the ring? Nah. Lose your job. Many people are going through this right now, a loss of job. Many things I'm going to say I believe will be a help. Maybe an encouragement just a bit. I hope so. Maybe a loss of money. If you don't have a job, you're not going to have money. Or have you ever had money and lost it? I mean, really lost it. I've had that happen to me. I can remember one time I had a $10 bill in my wallet, and I went back, and the $10 bill wasn't there. And I guess what I had done is when I went to the store, I had mixed and given her a 10 and thought it was a 1. And I did not get the right change, and it was such a loss to me. A car, lose a car. Some of you'd like to lose your car. Have you ever had your car repossessed, stolen? A fire in your house? Bad grades? These are all losses. In John 16, verse 20, and your joy no man taketh from you. Remember that? There's part of that verse. John 16:20. And your joy no man taketh from you. Nobody can rob your joy but you. Did you hear that? Nobody can take joy away except you yourself. You've taken your own joy away. You're deflated. You're defeated. No. Men's not going to take your joy away, so why should you rob yourself by having the joy taken from you? God tells us to rejoice. So, do you want to do what God says? Or do you want to be disobedient and do what you want to do? The Lord says we're supposed to rejoice. We're supposed to rejoice forever, evermore. Who are you to listen to? The devil, who would love you to be deflated and defeated, or the Lord? Look up the word joy. Find out all the verses in the back of your Bible that pertain to the word joy. I love the acrostic, J-O-Y. J stands for Jesus. O stands for others. Y stands for you. If you do it in that order, that will help you right there to keep that real joy. Not the joy you want. I want this, and I want that, and I want this. No, it's all mixed around. The joy comes in J, stands for Jesus. Jesus first in your life and everything. Yielding to his commands, yielding to his teachings in his book, the Bible, yielding to his man, the preacher, doing what you've been told to do. When the preacher preaches something, doing it. How can you lose your joy? But have more joy and a fuller joy. Oh, others. Live your life helping other people, encouraging other people, challenging other people, strengthening them, giving them a pat in the back instead of a kick in the head. It's important. And why you forget yourself, put yourself last on that list, as the word joy says, or is spelled out, and you'll have it. Forget yourself. I think one thing that'll help me, or helps me every single day, is if I could just stop and just write down everything good that God's given me. Really. You can make two lists, your good list and your bad list. Make your bad list last, and once you get on your good list, you get so excited about it, you don't even want to make a bad list. I can rejoice just the fact that I was able to get up this morning. You say, yeah, well, I was tired, but you were able to get up. What about the person who has cancer in the hospital, taking chemotherapy treatments, would do anything just to be able to keep from throwing up this morning, to be able to get out of their bed and walk into a building like you walked into today, your home or your office, or walk into your car, take a drive. We have a lot to be thankful for. Just your car. You say, you haven't seen my car, but it drives. If nothing more, you get to sit in it. Sit in it, open the windows, look at the birds. There's something you can be excited about. Did you eat today? Yeah, but I didn't. No, you misunderstood. I'm going to rejoice in what I'm eating today. If it's potato soup, if it's a potato, if it's a bowl of heated water with salt in it, I believe God's going to give me what I'm supposed to have today, and I'm going to rejoice in it. I'm going to rejoice the fact that you say, well, you laid in the bed. I don't even have sheets for my bed. I have one set of sheets. I have a new king-size bed. In fact, it's not even new. My husband got it from somebody else. I have one set of sheets, too. In fact, they're pilling. So I can lay around my bed and say, I've got pilled sheets. My sheets are pilling. I have a rotten, pilled sheet bed. Good night. I'm glad I have a bed to sleep in. And I'm glad I had a cover on this morning. And the cover's old. I've had it for years, but I'm so glad I had that old cover. The old cover has memories. It's a memory of who bought it for me, my mother. And bought it for me on a birthday many years ago. And I still have it on my bed. It's old, but it's underneath we call it the main bedspread. Can't see it. It's warm. My bedspread. You go buy a king-size bed. You can't even buy a bedspread. They're ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, the price on these things. We found a sale over here at Sears at the South Lake Mall in Maryville, Indiana. My mom saw it, and you're not going to believe this. You price bedspreads. They're expensive. My room is rust and bright yellow, very cheery. And I needed something to more or less pull out the colors. And I have a rust-colored love seat, a little love seat that my children and my husband bought for me for Mother's Day several years ago. So I wanted to pull out the rust and the yellow with the brown furniture. My mom found this bedspread in the catalog for $19.98. There's no way. You said $19.98? That's a mountain of money. Not for a bedspread. And I'm so excited and grateful to have that. I'm just talking about in bed this morning when I can rejoice in. Much less this morning I was able to have bacon and eggs. You say, well, it must be nice. someone gave me the bacon, just as a love gift. I was able to feed my children. I had water and soap to bathe my 2 little babies. I had a car that drove me here this morning. You said, well, it's nice to have a lot of money. No, I don't have a lot of money. In fact, I'm off payroll for the summer. And it's a clip to our budget. I don't go back on payroll until a week from tomorrow. You notice I know the day. And it's been tight, very tight. Probably the tightest we've ever had it. Tightest between paydays. But I believe the same God that made me and loves me is going to take care of me. So I'll rejoice I got to get here. Maybe get over to school this afternoon. Maybe I won't get back home. I'll rejoice the fact I get to sit out here if I run out of gas. I'll enjoy the school. Do you see what I'm saying? These can be heartaches and destructive, but boy, there's still joy. Look at all God has given you and rejoice. Be thankful. John 16:20b, the second section of the verse says, and ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. Isn't that something? Sure, you'll have sorrow. The scriptures tell it. And ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall. It's a promise. He says it's going to happen. It shall be turned into joy. That's the Lord saying that. And you've heard the verse over and over again, they that sow in tears shall reap in joy. How are you going to adjust in the hard times? In the heartache times? You know how? One step at a time. Realizing the old pilot, Lord Jesus Christ, is going to guide you. He's in charge. Just sit, relax, and yet get ready. How are you going to feel? Pulled? Yeah. Down? Hurt? Yeah. Here's some things I found. When the hard times come, don't dare switch your schedule. When the hardest time comes in your life, don't quit doing what you're doing. Do what you're doing and do more. And there's a balance there. I don't mean get so busy you forget everything around you, but don't you dare sit around. Because what you'll do is, and see if I'm reading your mind right now, when the hard times come and you hear the tears to start falling, what you're going to want to do is sit down, and before you know it, you're thinking. And you're thinking. And you're not even thinking anything constructive, but all the negatives, all the worrisome things. And before you know it, you are absolutely destroyed. And you'll think like that all day long. You won't accomplish anything. You won't get your meals prepared. And then when you do your meals, you know it's a sense of accomplishment. You feel so good to know that you can feed your family. You love them so much, and you'll be able to feed them and take care of them. But when you don't do this, you'll feel more guilty, so you're adding on another trial. You're adding on another heartache. And then you'll think, now I didn't do the wash. Oh, and now I didn't set the table. And oh, I didn't even bathe the babies. And before you know it, you're overwhelmed. And if we had just taken one step at a time that morning, one little bitty step, and got out of bed, but before you did you read your Bible? Did you pray? Did you stop and count the blessings? I love Christian music. I don't think ever in my life I've appreciated the songs as much. Listen to the words of Christian songs. I love the song, His Grace is Sufficient for Me. Oh, I love that song. I love that song. I just love it. In fact, I even kind of teasingly, I told Mrs. Eidson, she's a teacher at our college here, I said, when I die, I want you to sing that at my funeral. I love it. His grace is sufficient. That's a promise, folks. His grace is sufficient for me. And I just want to share some thoughts here. Do keep busy. Keep your schedule. Stay on schedule. Don't you dare get off schedule. If you want to cry, that's okay. But the Bible says there'll be sorrow, but it shall be turned into joy. Joy comes in the morning. Weeping comes at night, but joy comes in the morning. That's a promise. Not necessarily you're to cry every night, but the fact that it always will be the lighter path. At the end of the rainbow, there's always a glow, and there's a treasure. Stay on schedule. Eat right. Sleep right. Find some fun things to do. Really. Just laugh. You need, when you're going through the hard times, you need to have some relaxation, some diversion from your normal schedule. It should be planned in your schedule. I mean, you get up in the morning, you do the normal things you do. I read my Bible, I pray, I exercise just a teeny bit. I get up immediately, get myself cleaned up. I take a shower, I do my hair, my makeup, put some clean clothes on. I immediately start, before my children are up, getting like a little wash in. I mean, it's just a ritual I go through, making breakfast, cleaning up the house, a reading time with my children, preparation for the meals to follow in the afternoon, lunch and supper. And just throughout the day, I'm going fast. I have many times, I have 5 children 3 teenagers and 2 little ones, so I have a lot of places I get to play taxi, going back and forth, taking people here and there, and right now our one son's having a lot of surgeries, so we're back and forth to the hospital. In fact, we've gone up to North Chicago, which is over an hour drive one way, 3 times in 10 days. That's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of tiredness, and that's why it's so important. I have to have a schedule, or I'll be totally frustrated. If I don't eat right, I'm going to get sick. If I don't sleep right, I am going to be sick and be a help to nobody. But boy, I better have some fun times right now. I better look at some things and just find some light, funny things. I better find some stories and everything that happens to you. And more than that, I need more than ever to just be closer and closer. That Lord, He's got to guide me. I'm on that plane. He's the pilot, and I'm going to be the co-pilot. I'm going to go with Him, but I want to know every move He's making for me so I don't goof up what His plans are, being the co-pilot. So I'm going to read the Word more. I'm going to love it more. And I believe I want to live it, sleep with it. Put it on your chest and fall asleep reading it, and you'll wake up with it on your chest. Wouldn't that be precious? Play the Bible on tapes. Sing the Scriptures. And more than that, even, how about sharing the Scriptures? You get busy and stay busy winning people to Jesus Christ. Let people see Jesus in you. Let people see Jesus in you. Let me share a story about a young man that I said I'd mention to you, which has been a heartache. And all families will go through it. And by the way, it will affect the whole family. So you've got to know what to do and how to do it. I mentioned a few things I think are important. It may seem so simple, but to say it and do it are 2 different things. If I didn't have a schedule today, I'd be a mess. I could stay at home and cry and think and think and think, and I believe I'm robbing God from what He had plans for me to do today. I pray every morning, Lord, let me be a blessing. Let people walk into my path that I might help. Who would you help, Lord, if you were here today? Lead me to those people. I want that for my life. Do you? I can't do it if I'm sitting at home sulking and thinking and feeling sorry for myself. And there are times I guess we could feel sorry for ourselves, but I don't want that. I have a little son that was born with a cretinism, thyroid disease. It's called hypothyroidism. It's done much damage. Right now we're in the process of having 9 surgeries done. He's going to be 16 years old in October, and I have never seen a boy, and anyone who sees him, I pray he'll never change, but there's always a smile on his face. That smile, folks, isn't pasted on the outside. It comes from his inside. He has some verses that he claims that I want to read to you. And these are the verses for a little boy who is a cretin. He has dwarfism. He's short, stumpy. He has a thyroid disease that they say can kill him. They told us he'd never live to his 12th birthday, but he's going to be 16. Praise the Lord. And now we're in the process, between now and as long as it takes, up to probably it'll take up to a year, of doing reconstructive surgery, 9 surgeries. He's already had 2. So you say, only 2? No, you misunderstood. We've already had 2. 7 to go. It's how you look at it. And this is in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 and 10. These are little Roy Moffitt's verses that he gave to me, and that he said are his verses for his life. With the disease he has, he's made fun of a lot. He's short. His tongue is large. His facial features aren't quite like yours and mine. I don't really notice it that as much, and I don't know if you would, but it is something from the disease he has. He's very, very awkward. His movements, it affected the motor system in the brain. His legs have turned in so much, it's almost like a cripple, really, that they're repairing. They have already done 1 foot and put a 6-inch metal pin, and they just removed it last Tuesday. Now they'll be doing the opposite foot, then the pin coming out, then the upper leg, then the other leg, then the back of the left ligament, then the back of the right ligament, and then the major surgery. They're all major surgeries to me, but I think the surgery is going to be a little bit more time-consuming as far as time involved in the surgery and repair, and then also the correction and the recovery will be at Christmas time if everything stays on target. They already have the metal appliances in his face, and they're going to break both jaws and remove much of the bone to reconstruct the facial area, actually cut down the size of his tongue in the air passageway area there, and he'll be wired shut for 8 weeks. He's got quite a road ahead of him, and I could say, oh, Roy, bless your heart, but no, I'm going to uplift him and strengthen him. And here are the verses that he's chosen, because kids make fun of him. He can't close his mouth. He can't eat with just on a couple teeth because his mouth doesn't even close because of the open bite so bad in his face. And these are the verses, chapter 12, 2 Corinthians, verses 9 and 10. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, when everyone teases and laughs at them, in distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong. Isn't that precious? Here's little Roy encouraging Mama. What a blessing. What a blessing. The family will go through some hard times. We've been back and forth in the hospital. First surgery was quite involved. In fact, he went in a little after 11 and came out. We thought about an hour and a half later, and we didn't hear anything until 10 after 3 that afternoon. It was a lengthy type of surgery, and I was quite concerned. Yet one time, that little boy, let's learn from this, listen. One time, he said, Mama, after surgery, says, it hurts worse than I thought. Oh, he said, Daddy, I'm sorry. It hurts worse than I thought it would. And I thought, oh my, it's going to be a tough battle. And I prayed right then, Lord, I said, you said when he's weak, he's going to be strong. Oh, Lord, I pray you'll give him strength. I pray you'll give him strength. Not that he wasn't going to hurt, but he'd be strong through it. And you know what? I believe now, there was the hurt and the weak time, but I believe the Lord gave him strength, because from that time on, after that surgery, one time he said it hurt worse than he thought it would. Every other time from that point, he came home 5 days later, I'd ask you, Roy, how you doing, son? He'd say, perfect. How can you be perfect when 3 feet, 3 feet, that'd be different, 3 toes, the metatarsal was actually like sawed across, bone removed, reposition the toe next to the large toe, have a 6-inch metal pin in your foot, and it's perfect. But when he was weak, he was strong. And the Lord took care of him. So there'll be many times, but I'm just finding, be careful not to forget your other children when the hard times come, if it's a child or whatever. Whatever's happening in your home, don't you forget your family. You love that family. Be so careful. I don't want my other children going down because I'm trying to build one up. You're going to have to be so careful, and God will give you the grace and the strength and the help in this. But spend time with the other family members. During the time that I was in the hospital, I made sure that I always had a big meal at home for the children. I'd have notes for them. I'd have little special desserts for them, because I didn't want them ever to more or less like think, oh, well, boy, all this. Oh, boy. They love Roy, and they're for Roy, but I want them to battle it with us and to fight with us and get excited with us and see the victories together. In other words, the battle the devil puts in our pathway, as well as the challenges the Lord puts in our pathway, and let us see victories. So when you're going through the hard times, watch out for the family. And also, I think it's so important is, during this time, I'm going to have to keep little Roy busy. You see, he can't do the things like he used to do. He can't just run and play and go. He can't. He's more or less, the first, I guess, maybe 10 to 14 days of his surgery, after the surgery, that little guy had to keep his foot elevated because it would swell the toes. So he was there just stationary. So when I was at the hospital and when I was at home, I had to keep that little boy busy. And keep Mama busy, by the way, and involve the other children. Have the other children plan things for him. We decorated his room at the hospital. There's so short of time what I want to say. I just pray I can say the things that will be a help to you and also a help to me, as I want to do more for my own family, and during the times I have, the things happen to me and mine. But I know we went and decorated his room and put crepe paper. He had a little boy that was, in fact, it was really unusual. In the Chicagoland area, this little boy, here we are in a hospital in Chicago, Children's Memorial, he'll be back there. He has a cast off a week from yesterday. He'll be having the cast off, and then we'll get his next surgery date. And as we were going up to the hospital, and we found out his roommate was an actual person that lives a person that actually lives in Cedar Lake, Indiana, right at the town next to the college here. Well, that was exciting. Here we're in Chicago Hospital. Could have anyone from anywhere all over the world. We have a boy from Cedar Lake. The little boy had problems, a little similar to Roy. He had some birth defects and all. Was such a roommate, such a nice little boy, and such a comfort to Roy and an encouragement. I decorated the room, and we made up signs. We sure do. We love you, Roy. And had all the kids and myself. We signed it, and we're with you, Roy. You can do it, buddy. And we made a sign for that little boy. And we bought the little boy treats. We buy little Roy treats. And that little boy had such an uplifting spirit. And the nurses would come in and say, "Whose birthday?" And I said, "Oh, we're just in celebrating a get well that's coming about. We're just so excited that he's getting well. We're having a get well party." And they'd look at you kind of different, but they'd always be cheered up and smile, and they'd walk in our room. You will be an example. We need to keep Leroy busy. He's going to have to be busy, and if you have the same situation, you're going to have to keep busy. Your kids are going to have to keep busy. Keep your mind busy. Keep your hands busy. Keep your feet busy in the right way. In a hospital, at home. And bring people in to see him if maybe you can program this. I didn't program this, but one of our youth leaders, Brother Eddie Lapina, did something that was so thoughtful and so kind. He, the Saturday that Roy came home, he came home Friday, the following day, Saturday, he brought over a whole busload of kids coming back from soul winning and have them drop in the house, maybe 3 minutes. That's all. It doesn't take much, by the way. It's not the quantity, it's the quality of time they gave. And they came and brought Roy a jersey and a shirt. They pitched in for this and brought him an atomic cake, which is full of fresh bananas and strawberry. And that wasn't what he needed, although he appreciated it, but he appreciated each person that came and signed his cast and wrote him little love notes. And by the way, you know what's amazing? It teaches you to write more love notes, because old little Roy now is writing notes. And I'm encouraging him to do this, and I'm writing more. It seems to teach you, doesn't it? Every note he has, he reads it, and he rereads it, and he rereads it, and he rereads it. He loves the notes, and it's taught him to write them too. But I think it's so special when you can encourage friends to come in. So Brother Eddie had all these kids to come in. It was such a highlight. Then Roy has a special friend here out in the Maryville area that we took to the hospital one day, and then the first day he came home, he came over. And they played all these electronic games. They're good little things, just fun, and some are brain teasers and quizzes. And they played 2 Bible games a lady, Mrs. Coleman, brought from Dayton, Ohio, a real sweet lady that I've gotten to know from her son being a college student and also being in her church. We stayed in their home, and she was so sweet. She's called, I guess, 2 or 3 times checking on Roy. We need to call, too, and encourage other people when the hard times are here. She's been an encouragement. We play games, make days special, not dreaded, decorating rooms, making things special, plan special events, maybe take him out on your bus route. He could stay in the car and then plan afterward, make a big deal out of going to McDonald's and having lunch there afterward with his cast on. Maybe one day a week, have something that little boy looks forward to. Every day, you and that boy can play games. Have a special time during that day where you can play Parcheesi, or maybe you can play a little, that little Bible game you have. We have all kinds of games. Connect 4. It's like you drop little chips into this thing, and then it's like checkers, and they all drop and you lose. He was going into surgery. We were playing it, and I won the last game, and I felt like a rat, but we had fun. Until the time he was going in, but he went in with such an uplift spirit, and he came out the same way. Maybe one day we're having a big giant county fair with live animals. That's what we're doing tonight. You say, how are you going to do it? Crutches? I'm getting a wheelchair. I'm taking them. Maybe one day a week, or maybe 2 or 3 times you can do this during the time he's off for 4 or 5 weeks of surgeries. Take him to the library and look at books and pick out some nice books for him. By the way, you want to include your other children, but I believe there's time every day I spend individually with my children. I read to them. I play with them. I take them maybe to the store one at a time, but spend time with that boy. But don't exclude the others. When he's sick, how about taking him to go by and visit somebody else sick? I know when he was not doing well at all, he took a gift that he had, not a gift, but a watch, calculator watch that he had earned in a contest we had at our church during a program time, was redeemed the time, and he earned this by bringing a visitor every single week for 10 weeks. And Joy Evans had surgery, Dr. Evans and Mrs. Evans' daughter, and he wanted her to have that watch. Just bless my heart to see him totally learning, having his heart soften, and him wanting to go out. Maybe there'll be an afternoon you can just do your normal routine in the morning and plan where he can be reading or listening to tapes or reading some light novel type books, this type of thing. Maybe in a cartoon, a good old Snoopy cartoon book or something like this. But why don't you spend a time where you just sit and reminisce and go over the old times of some old fun stories? Isn't that fun? We're doing something a little bit different right now. We're making a scrapbook. We are actually now. We're saving every single bracelet. His bills. Oh, I'd like to save those. They expect, if you can imagine this, over $122,000 these surgeries will be, and how we just rejoice surgeries. Sure, it's needful for him, and that will be, I'm sure, some involved. We have insurance and all, but who cares? That's a life that the Lord has given us. Doctors in this day and age who can help and do things like this. Keep the bills. Put them in the book. Years from now, he can appreciate it and reminisce over it. All the cards he got put in a scrapbook. We even kept his intravenous bag, if you can imagine this. Sounds horrible. But play the games, write thank you notes together, make the scrapbook together, play checkers, Parcheesi, Scrabble, electronic games, use a computer together. But you know what else? How about just praying together? How about writing down some prayer requests together and then writing down when the day God answers it? Not if God answers it, when God answers it. Pray for others' needs and then rejoice. There's so much that you can learn through this. Don't make him feel a burden, that he's in the way, a real pain. He's unwanted, unneeded. He can't help. Find things he can do, like put away dishes or clear off counters. Don't let him have pity parties. Don't overly baby him. Make him feel even through the hard times, or anybody that they can achieve. Don't let them just lay around, but move them around. Find places they can go outside, the porch, look at the scenery, look at the leaves. But be able to just find ways to make him feel he's special. God didn't make a mistake. And I trust that as we're having maybe the times of the heavy times, the heartaches, I believe, and I believe this is true, you can live happily ever after heartache, with the heartaches. Will I rather glory in my infirmities? Yes, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Because remember, when I am weak, then I am strong. Yes, we can live happily ever after with heartaches.